Hello and welcome to The Real Deal. Now, 112 Weddings is an insight into marriage as a practical, an emotional and a spiritual institution, as wedding videographer Doug Block goes back over 20 years to find out what happened to the couples he met after the big day.
It's okay, Joe. Don't worry. Here's the trailer.
It's like being granted a front row view as an ordinary couple experiences the most extraordinary day of their lives.
To be sensitive at all times to each other's needs.
But I can't help but wonder, do they have any idea what they're getting into?
Oh, I think I need the tissues after that trailer. Oh. Well, as wedding season is on the horizon, this looks like the perfect film to kind of accompany that. Joe, what did you think?
Oh God, it's just too much. I loved it, to be honest. Manlyhood out the window, just like a bouquet over my shoulder. But I loved it. Do you know,
what's it about?
Do you know what it is, right? Doug Block is a wedding videographer, but he's a documentary filmmaker. And he has done the eponymous 112 weddings. He has filmed that many in the past 20 years. And I think the premise is so interesting. He basically decides to revisit some of these couples to see what's happened to them since. That's a wonderful jumping off point, and it's an exploration of marriage, what it takes to make marriage work, how marriage breaks down, and ultimately gives you a positive message at the end, which is that if you love one another, then it's right.
Can you tell that Joe really loved this? Like, he has been harking on about this film for yonks since he's seen it.
Loved it.
It's changed you.
I loved it so much. Can't wait to meet Mr. Right.
Now, there have been films, well actually there have been TV shows out there which are about meeting couples before the big day, watching them during the big day, and then following on a few years later and seeing whether or not it's positive, negative, they're still together, they've divorced, they've got kids, all that kind of stuff. What makes this cinematic?
That's what you've touched on, really. I think it feels a little bit. It's just nothing but love in here. Yeah. It feels a little bit like it could be made for TV. It's not very cinematic. I mean, the narrative thread is very, very well done throughout. It's a mixture of the original footage from the wedding day and the couples juxtaposed with the couples now. Which actually works really well. He tells the story beautifully. He doesn't basically say, isn't marriage great, or very cynically, isn't marriage bad?
Right.
He lets each story breathe and lets the people talk. It's an interesting style of interviewing as well. Bit from the Louis Theroux school. Doesn't say too much, just sort of lets them speak.
Just sows the seed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then sits back until sort of social awkwardness dictates that they speak. I think that narrative is very well done with the original footage and the footage from the modern day. But admittedly, I think the problem some people might have is, why would I go and see this at the cinema? And I think that's right, you don't need to.
Okay, but if I was a girl who was getting married this summer and wanting to get in a wedding mode, you know, like we had Bridesmaids come out a few years ago, and that was like the best thing to go and watch if you were getting married. Is this one of those films?
Bridesmaids, this ain't. No one squats in the street at any point, I'm delighted to say.
And it would be real if they did it, not movie magic.
Oh, that's worse, isn't it? I've been to some weddings like that, though, to be fair. But I tell you what, it's not really a film that you should necessarily watch if you're about to get married.
Okay.
Reason being, it's not totally positive. It certainly says that, obviously, if you're right for one another, then love conquers all. But it does have some sad stories. For example, there's a guy in there who's a screenwriter who suffered from manic depression, and it's about how his abuse of the medicine he's on caused the destruction of his marriage. A couple whose child is terminally ill, who's still alive but is very, very ill, and how ultimately that's driven them apart. It's a very interesting exploration of how human beings...
It's an eye-opener.
It is, yeah. It's an exploration of how we get on with one another when we are in a relationship, when we cohabit, and I think it's a really interesting story, and I just love that premise, that jumping off point.
So if you enjoy like documentaries, you'll enjoy this?
Yes, absolutely. It's one for a documentary fan, and I just love the idea of, okay, here's day one, what happens for the rest of their lives? I think that's a really great place to start.
So what's the real deal on 112 weddings?
I really loved it, to be honest. I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 wedding bells.
Sometimes when I think he's the biggest jerk in the world, and then he'll do something funny, and I'll laugh, and I'll think to myself, oh, that's why I married him.
So that is The Real Deal on 112 Weddings. It's out now, and we want to know what your favourite on-screen wedding is. Joe, come on, you love weddings.
I absolutely love a wedding, as you can tell. Wayne's World, bizarrely enough.
Good!
Yes, I like a funny wedding.
Yeah, no, really good. And actually flipping that a little bit,
Yes.
mine has to be The Graduate at the end.
Nice.
Yeah, it's exactly the same, in
Yeah.
a way. That's what they're parodying.
Yeah, not a romantic bone
No.
in our
not
bodies.
really. Sorry.
Anyway, what do you think though? Let us know on our YouTube channel, Facebook page, or you can drop us a tweet at The Real Film Show. Thanks for watching.